Welcome to another episode of the Community for Contemplative Conversations. Uh, Today, we're going to be talking about veganism. And we have a great guest with us today who I think is going to be able to help us to learn a little bit more, talk about veganism, how we can get into it. Should be a good one. I'm going to let her introduce herself because she's just a G. Recording thing, I think it works. So tell me, well, we go back like four flats on the Cadillac. All right, so tell this YouTube world a little bit about who you are and what's your YouTube page about.
Oh my goodness. Whenever someone asks me like, so who are you? I'm like, well, which version do you want? Because are we
We
talking
want
like,
the real version, you know what I'm saying?
um, oh man. Well, I feel like, I'm this spirit inside of this body trying to figure out this life in staying true to that nature. I think we relate so much to the physical of, you know, um, and our job titles and the descriptions, and not really paying attention to who we are on the inside, if that makes sense. But so I will start there. But on paper, I am a teacher by trade, by profession, and I teach young children ages 3 to 5. So I'm a preschool teacher, and that occupies a good amount of my day and time. And then when I'm not teaching my babies, I'm not teaching. I've been virtually teaching, and then summer happened, so then I wasn't teaching. But when I'm not teaching, then I'm doing health and wellness content, really trying to bring health and wellness to whoever is available and whoever is open to learning about bettering themselves in their life.
Right. So your YouTube page is health and wellness, but there's a vegan aspect to this.
Oh yes, absolutely. Right? There's a plant-based aspect for sure.
So in this plant-based world, so what got you on the plant-based? How long have you been plant-based? And
so I was raised vegetarian. So my dad, from a very early age, my mom and dad, they pushed the veggies, pushed the healthy eating. Of course, I tried to rebel in that time, but I was raised vegetarian. For the most part, family members will sneak you a piece of chicken here and there or whatever, but I've never had like a steak or like a hamburger or something like that. And then for the past about 8 years, I've been totally plant-based vegan. So I kind of just naturally transitioned from vegetarian to vegan.
Was there something in particular that you were like, because so I'll just, like the quick story about, like I've been vegetarian for probably, since probably sophomore year of college or something. Yeah.
Okay. I knew that.
Yeah. And so, but for me, you remember at Colorado State, we had to take a nutrition class, right? Everyone had to take it. Well, we learned about being a vegetarian. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So I went home and threw like all this meat away in my house, and I just got rid of it. And that's how. So I had a not cool story about doing it, but was there an instance or something that you were like, oh, well, I kind of want to go on this path of being plant-based?
It was kind of like a natural progression. And then I think, as you learn more about our food industry and everything going on within that, it kind of just makes it, for me, it was just kind of like, oh man, like, I don't want to be a part of an industry like that. So a lot of people think like, if you're plant-based or vegan, like you look down on everybody who eats meat, or it's this thing, but it was more this system thing. So, let's, for instance, you take the Native Americans. When they hunted the buffalo, they killed the buffalo, they gave thanks. They performed these like deep spiritual rituals around the buffalo, gave thanks for it, used every single part of it like it was a spiritual experience. Obviously, where we are in the world, like the animals aren't treated that way. It's very, very toxic. And in turn, you're eating this meat that has been tortured in a lot of ways. And so you're taking this into your body, and it's just kind of devoid of the whole spiritual aspect that I think we're supposed to be in tune with and follow, So for me, I kind of just was like, yeah, I'm gonna stick to my, my plant-basedness, it just kind of evolved over time. And then I realized, like, you know, if I would eat something, because I wasn't really eating meat, but it's something with dairy, like I just didn't really like the taste either
Mm.
anymore. And so it kind of evolved like that.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, and so, and it's interesting you say that because I think being a vegetarian, like I have these probably pseudo moments of being plant based where I'm like, because you can't miss something you never had, right? Or as the more you learn, you start to understand, like, oh well, you know, because we'll have a stereotypical moment here. The people who like, oh well, you need steak in order to get all your protein, right? But like when you really do your research, like you don't need that type of product, i.e., the steak or whatever, to get protein when you can read and understand that protein you can find them in green beans. You can find them in
Yeah, absolutely.
whatever. Like there's protein in a lot of stuff. It's just like when you're talking about the amount of it, like sure you could probably get a lot more in a steak comparative to eating, you know, a potato or garbanzo beans, like, you know, but they all have protein. They all work. There's no difference between the proteins and one thing to another. It's just a protein, you know.
And then when you think about like the biggest animals in the world, a lot of them are vegetarians. A lot of them are eating straight plants all day long,
Right.
you know. And so, you know, you can see it evident in nature.
So when you think about this idea of being plant-based, and let's just have a wee bit of a difference. You talked earlier about like when you had dairy, you didn't feel it as well. So since you have been plant-based, are there other things you've noticed that are different in your lifestyle, that just in your body that you may feel different? Um, when you think about maybe coming from a vegetarian to going fully plant-based?
Totally. I think, well, when I was vegetarian, I relied so much on processed food. So I always tell people, just because you're vegetarian or vegan doesn't mean necessarily that you're eating healthier things. There's so many processed products that both vegetarians and vegans eat. So what I really noticed the difference is when I started cutting out more of the processed things and focusing on real whole foods that come from the earth, that have one ingredient that you look at it, you know exactly what's in it, you know what it is. So focusing on those foods like 80% of the time, and then another 20% of the time, of course, you know, you have those processed things. You know, I never wanted to live this life where my diet just became something that was really unmanageable, you know, where you're just,
Mm.
I can only eat this apple, or I can only eat certain, you know. And so I very much try to focus as much as I can on cutting out the processed stuff, but then also leaving a little space for it. You know, when you're, you know, on the go, you're on the move, you have to get something in your system. So it kind of, you know, progressed that way for me.
Because there's always a fine balance, right? Because I think too often, you know, when we go on quote unquote diets, right, it's just the fact that we take away a lot of the things that bring us joy. Like food can bring you joy. Like
It is.
there's something about, you know, probably for you eating ice cream, like, oh, that was a great experience, right? And our brain realizes like we need that sense of joy.
It's something
Um,
for the soul, you know. There is a reason, you
yeah,
know,
you know.
absolutely.
And I think that's what you said was important, because I think we have to leave space for those things. So because I remember in college when I kind of had this kind of weight loss aspect of my life, and what I would do is on Sunday I would call it Sunday snacks, and
Uh-oh.
like, you know, 6 days out of the week I was like on it, but
Yeah.
like when the Oreos could come out or the Doritos is probably like my thing that I'm like, oh, Doritos are so beautiful, you know, but I would only have those on Sundays, right? Because you have to leave space for things that bring you joy. Or if you go to a friend's house for, well, pre-corona, go to a friend's house for an event or something, you want to leave space to be able to sit there and enjoy it, right? And so it's important. Like, I think what you said was important about leaving space for those things that can kind of continue to bring us joy, because I do think people have a perception in their head that like being vegan, you have to meal prep all the time. It's like, well, not necessarily. You could go get a product from the store that's vegan and just you can just pop it in the microwave. Like, again, and it's all okay. You know, you don't have to, you know,
Exactly.
eat whole grains and, you know, and it's just more than salads all the time,
Absolutely. And people, I think, see other people in different points in their journey and think like, oh, I have to do this exact thing or make this meal look like this. And it's not about that at all. It's just kind of taking your time and finding what works for you within your lifestyle, because everybody's circumstances are so different with, what they're able to do. There could be a mom who has 3 kids, a mom who has one, you know, people taking care of their parent, so many factors can determine, what you're able to do. Um, so I think it's just really being patient with the process and realizing, a lot of people that you might see, like they've been doing it for years and years and years. So it's
Mm,
second nature, but just to respect your own process, and however your journey goes. And, you'll fall off and you just get back on and you try something a little different, or you might try something that's disgusting and then you try it another way and you really like it that way. So it's just like a trial and error, and really kind of being in tune and present with your body to
mm,
listen, because a lot of the times I think we look for answers from other people, but we're really the experts of ourselves and what's going on with us and what our body likes. Like some of the things I like to eat might not work as well for your body. So it's just really important that you just take time to be in tune and be in touch and start small and
mm.
and go on.
So true, and I think so. Here's the semi last question I have.
Okay.
So one of the things you did talk about is about like this idea of looking the internal, right? We have to kind of listen to our bodies, and I really appreciate you saying some of the things you said, because I recall after I stopped eating meat, like probably 2-3 days later, I woke up and I felt the lightest I've ever felt in my entire life. And I was like, I want to keep this feeling, and like I want to, but that has made me very conscious that like this morning, a little personal information. This morning I woke up and I was like, man, I'm feeling kind of bloated,
Yeah.
like because I've been able to like be attuned to like um what I have put in my body, and I can think back. Okay, so what did I have yesterday and may have caused me to be bloated? Okay, so today maybe I can make a different choice in my food selection or drink selection, because today I feel bloated or I can feel inflamed, right? So, and that's one of the reasons why I love your page, right? Your YouTube page is beautiful. Okay, and we'll put that in this YouTube link thing below. People do this in other YouTube videos, yeah, like this, you know. But one of the reasons why I love your videos is that they are very simple for the most part, right? And they
Yeah.
can be very inclusive. Now, I like to travel, right? And one of the things when we travel is about food selection. And you had this video a while back, which I watched. I watch every time before I go on a trip. It's like when you went, I think it was somewhere in Mexico, like where
Yeah.
you ate vegan, right? Ah, my favorite video on your page, by the way. Anyway,
Fantastic.
yeah. So what advice would you give to people? Because it can be functional. Like you can do it on a
Yeah.
trip, you can do it every day. And I won't spill your last video you posted where you told your simple trick,
Oh,
but we'll make people go watch that for the YouTube algorithm, right?
there we
But
go.
yeah, so what advice would you have, or what would you offer to people who are thinking about going plant based, even if it's not every day of the week? Like, what would you offer to folks in that regard?
I think, like I was saying, just starting simply, focusing maybe even on one meal, or yeah, one day a week, to where you're not feeling overwhelmed, and just start to experiment kind of with different things that you might not be used to. I think that is always helpful. And really, I think figuring out your reasonings for wanting to do the switch, because I think, you know, if you get like some immediate result, that can kind of motivate you to keep going. But sometimes it doesn't happen. So really, like, taking a good inventory of how you feel now, and then, think about like how you might want to feel in the future. And I think that can anchor into your head. Okay, so maybe I'll try this instead, or move like this instead. And just little things like that. I don't know if that makes sense. I have all these
Mhm.
thoughts in my head about that, but I would say like that you don't have to like I said, create all these complex vegan meals right off the bat. You don't have to, get the sea moss and the spirulina and do all of that yet. It's all just little steps. So it's kind of like, you know, a building block. So you start with one little thing, you get your breakfast down, you find maybe the 2 or 3 things that really, make you feel good, make you feel energized. Have all the components that make a good breakfast to you, and then once you get that down, then you move to a snack, and you're like, okay, well, um I didn't really like how I felt when I ate this, but then I like it trying this. So and it's just like these little steps, and eventually you'll start to stack these little wellness blocks on top of each
Mm.
other, and they will have make a big impact in your overall health and how you feel, and just to being very patient with the process, because if you eat, a whole cake one day, it happens to the best of it happens to the best. But you just keep you be kind to yourself. You're like, okay, somehow I must have needed that cake for some reason there, and then you just move on. So that's what I would say to start with.
Yeah, and I do think that for me, I think when I went plant based, it's kind of like and it, that's the approach that I took. But I also think it's an approach that is really important, as what you mentioned, is that it's all about small steps. Because I think in our Western world, we just want it all tomorrow.
All
Like,
of it needs to be, and it's such a it's like
yeah,
I've been doing these like planks, and I was like, I'm just going to do 5 minutes a day, and you're like, that's never going to help, but it's really helped with the overall strength of my body. And it's just, you think of 5 minutes and you're like, it's nothing, I need to be in the gym working out 20 hours. And the same goes to food. Like, we have all these, but it's kind of these little minor consistent, little habits that we just show up for daily, even if they're tiny, and eventually they start to snowball, and you end up with this big result. But I think it is, like you said, in this culture, we want it all right now, and we want to go big, and we want, but it's not sustainable or realistic, because say you try to go big and do all these things, and then the next minute you fall out, and then it's just, you're back at square one. And if you just have these little, put these little deposits into your wellness bucket,
mm,
they start to, you hit that tipping point where it's like, wow, I notice all these differences and all these changes in my health and my skin and energy and all of that. So
yeah,
yeah.
and I think the idea, because we all have egos, right? And I think, particularly when I kind of started on the wellness kind of journey, especially when I went to the gym, and I would always tell myself, like, this workout, I will see the benefits of it in 2 weeks, right? I'm not
Right.
going to wake up tomorrow and be like, all right, I'm 25 pounds, got a little bit, and it's the same way, like, with our if we're trying to reduce our weight or our cholesterol, right, is like, okay, I'm going to see the fruits of eating well in a week, in
Yeah.
2 weeks, right? Because I think we kind of get distracted by like weight, right? Because your weight can fluctuate like 2-3 pounds in
Oh yeah, or even 5, 6,
five
8.
pounds, right? Because of what you just ate yesterday, but it has nothing to do with you didn't work out enough or anything. It's just that your body could be responding to something internally that you don't know about, and your body's like, okay, well, we should probably retain something else before, you know, to get well, right? And so, but I think I really appreciate you talking about the consistency, right? Because again, that's way more important than actually going to wholesale change, like going into your refrigerator, throwing it all out, getting rid of all the processed stuff. Like, because otherwise, you're going to get one day, you're going to, I really want some Oreos right now, And so, but it's all about consistency, right? Just doing small things over and over and over. And sooner or later, you're going to get a big result. Because otherwise, I think we lose kind of the momentum that we pick up when we have gone plant based or whatever that
Absolutely.
because it's all about momentum. There are waves, and you just have to be able to ride the waves as you kind of go along. So,
Absolutely.
before I let you get out of here, because I know the rest of your Sunday you need to enjoy. Um, any other advice or any other things you want to offer today, just in general?
Oh man. I think I guess I will leave everyone with is really taking some time to explore. I mean, COVID, I think, has forced us to really take time to be with ourselves and in our internal world more. But just really uh, notice how you speak to yourself and how you treat yourself. I think a lot of us look to food and diet for like these health changes, but I think one of the best things you can do is really learn yourself and really become that best friend to yourself, and treat yourself like, have this affair with yourself. Like I love myself, it's just this strong, healthy love, because from that, I think, the diet, all these things will fall in place when you really begin to have a strong regard for who you are and an appreciation. I went through so many years of, even when we were in college, I was just an interesting girl, but like I really kept to myself. I was dealing with so much internally, like just not confident in myself. I didn't believe in myself. I always thought I was wrong and bad and all of these different things, which, I've ironed my issues out for the most part, but don't let me fool you. Like, they're there. But like, but I realized that going on this journey of really becoming my own friend and becoming, you know, just being compassionate to myself, offering that love and forgiveness and acceptance of myself. Like sometimes I'll just go in my head, I love and accept myself. I love and accept like I'm trying to literally train and brainwash myself, because it doesn't come naturally. Like it comes naturally more to like, oh, you did this wrong, or you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're never going to achieve this or that. Like that's my natural default. And I think a lot of the times we don't even notice that that's what is going on. So I would really say, like, because nothing has changed, I think, my life as much as, starting this like self-love and acceptance journey, and realizing, that's what it's all. And then from
Yes.
that, I eat better, I take better care of myself, I'm able to stick to my habits because I believe that I'm worth it. And I believe, you know, and I'm always envious of people who have this confidence inside that's just like bursting out. I'm like, I need this. And it's attainable, you can have that. It's just all about what you choose to think and believe about yourself and how you know, put it all out there. So
As them young kids say, that hit different. You know what I'm saying?
this is the
It's
thing.
true.
Absolutely.
I mean, Beyonce said it. I got me, myself, and I. You know?
At the end of the day, that's who you'll be with no matter what. A life changes, relationships are constantly changing, and they go in and out. Oh, sorry about that. I think someone was, but they go in and out, and but that one relationship that you'll always have is with that person in the mirror, and you want that. And from that, you get that tight, and all the other things in relationships tend to work out, because you don't have this like, I don't need you to do anything for me to be good or to be happy or to know that I'm worth something, because I already know, so then
Yes.
that's fine.
That,
That's
that
fine.
that was beautiful. I mean, it's true. I mean, but it takes work to be able to continuously give yourself mercy and grace, right?
Oh
Because I
my
think we are our toughest critics, like as a our to ourselves, right?
God.
We are
So
the hardest people on us, but we also have to be able and be willing to show ourselves the greatest grace
more than
more than
anything.
anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I mean, you need to get out here and get some seminars. You know what I'm
Oh
saying? Just go.
man.
I mean, just go to her YouTube page. That also work as well. Get the subscribership up. You feel me?
I'm
But
saying, come on.
yeah, but no, I really do appreciate you spending time with the YouTube world and me today.
I
Um,
appreciate you asking me. Thank you so much for that.
oh,
It made me so excited. I'm like,
well, well, hopefully this be the first of many videos that
absolutely.
because
100%.
because I think there's more to kind of more to learn and unpack as we kind of go through this whole journey together. But really do appreciate it. I really do. So thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I'm